and almost half of the population that was interviewed declared their intentions of, leaving the country. And this is permanently. When they want to choose where to go, Ghana will be among their top choices. The reasons why they are actually going may be different from the reasons that they've stated they are going. It made Ghana a destination of choice. But when it came to US, it was noticed that the women migrated more to the US. In fact, as we speak, some are planning and leaving the country. Good evening. This is your African Rural Doctor once again. And I'm coming your way this time with another educative conversation about a topic which has become very relevant in recent times. I'm talking about migration or leaving the shores of our country. Today, we are here to delve deep into the reasons why people leave the shores of Ghana, who is leaving, why they are leaving, what are the reasons, the states that they are leaving the country, where they go to, and the general trends of migration in Ghana. We will also take a look back into history and look at the trends of migration in Ghana since our independence to the early 90s. And we will juxtapose that with our current times and how things have changed, with either gotten worse or better. Before we go into it, we would like to state that we got our source of information from the OECD, which is Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, which is a group of countries of about 40 in number who have come together to cooperate in order to learn from each other to help their economies and their democracies become better. They have come together to perform a study, studying the trends of immigration from Ghana from 2000 to 2019, this 19 years span. This study was done in 2022 by the OECD countries. The OECD countries always keep increasing. Currently, there are over 40 countries, including Ghana. So let's delve deep into the study. But before that, let's look at the historical context of migration in Ghana. It is known very well in history that people or Ghanaians are not new to migration. Even before the white men came, colonized us, we were migrating from within Africa. It is known very well that our forefathers migrated from the then Ghana Empire, which is in current day Mali, all the way to our present Ghana. So migration from one place to the other is not a new thing. However, after independence and the fact that we are one of the first African countries to gain independence, which led to increased prosperity in the country at the time, it made Ghana a destination of choice to migrants. So within the early 60s, most African countries will migrate to our beloved country, Ghana, during those times. When they want to choose where to go, Ghana will be among their top choices because of the reasons stated earlier. But mainly, the reasons they stated those days was for economic and political reasons. Mainly because we had our independence and we were our own leaders at the time, and other African countries were being still ruled by the whites. And then at the time, because of farming and opportunities in farming, mainly cocoa in those days, and the mining sector, people also chose to come here because of those reasons. Because those sectors were flourishing, the wages that they were paying in those sectors were usually higher in Ghana than in other African countries. Also, our first president, Kwame Nkrumah, was a Pan-Africanist. So his policies was one which favored Africans moving freely without any borders and visa restrictions. So this also helped increase the number of people pouring into Ghana for search of economic opportunities and political freedom. It was so much so that a census that was done in the 1960s showed that 12% of Ghana's population at the time was made out of migrants. Movement out of the country at that time was not a popular thing. A small group of people moved out of the country mainly for education, or somebody, a professional who wants to further their education. A few also went for employment, mainly in the UK during those days. Some also went to neighboring African countries as well from Ghana to go and seek work due to their qualification. From 1965, the attractiveness of Ghana to migrants as a destination began due to serious economic crisis and growing unemployment and poverty rates and political instabilities in the country. This reversed the migration trend that Ghana was used to, where most people moved out of the country instead of coming in. The main reason why at that time people moved out was to find work in other African countries such as Nigeria and Ivory Coast. Mostly people who went out of the country during that time were teachers, lawyers, and administrators. Those who also left Ghana to study and had come, those who left to study and had come back to help grow the country began to leave the country. And those who went to study and hadn't finished their education also decided to stay there and find work rather than coming back into the country because of the conditions mentioned earlier. This trend will worsen over the years. In the early 1980s, unskilled Ghanaians began also to migrate. Earlier, it was the skilled one, the professionals who were leaving. But in 1980s, the unskilled labor also joined in large numbers. The implementation of the structural adjustment program, coupled with droughts from 1981 to 1982, further worsening the unemployment and inflation and poverty rates, leading to a surge in immigration out of the country from all sectors of the Ghanaian society to mainly the traditional African countries and also English-speaking countries outside Africa. But the new destination now was in Europe, North America, South America, Middle East, and North Africa. In addition, in 1983 to 1985, Nigeria expulsed more than 1.2 million Ghanaians who had migrated there. Intentional emigration went on throughout the 1990s, and Ghanaian diasporan communities were well established in certain destinations like the US, the UK, Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands. Highly skilled workers tended to migrate to the English-speaking countries and unskilled workers mainly to Germany. In the 1990s and early 2000s, immigration of health professionals to the US, the UK, and Canada rapidly increased and quickly became a cause of concern, given the growing shortages of Ghanaian in the medical sector. This is the history of Ghana's migration from independence till now, giving us the perspective. But before we go into the study that was done by the OECD, we also want to look at movements of Ghanaians or Africans within Africa. ECOWAS was formed in 1975 in Lagos, and they formed the Lagos Treaty to promote and ensure economic and political cooperation between member states. In 1974 to 1996, 6 protocols were established. This included, but not limited to, the right of entry and abolition of visa requirements for stays less than 90 days, and also the right of residence within ECOWAS member countries. Therefore, a huge chunk of migration of Ghanaians is to other African countries, especially within the ECOWAS zone. But mostly, these migrations are undocumented and understudied. The main reason given to the movement within ECOWAS zone is for work, humanitarian reasons, and is usually short-term and cross-border movement, the largest being between Ghana and Nigeria. Now, the 2022 study by OECD studied a period from 2000 to 2019, 19 years period, of how Ghanaians migrated, where they went to, who migrated, why they migrated, and where they migrated to, the age ranges of the people that migrated. And we'll look at the facts that they came out with and compare it with the graphs that they were able to come up with. The first fact is that Ghana is the second highest ECOWAS member in migration to OECD countries. as other OECD countries. Even though the migration rate was slower in Ghana during the period compared to other ECOWAS countries, the annual legal migration out of Ghana from 2000 to 2019 doubled. Ghanaians usually migrated to those OECD countries in this order of magnitude, which means the first I'm going to mention had more migration during 2020 to 2019 than the next one I will mention in that order. The first one is the United States of America. Between 2020 to 2019, most Ghanaians who were migrating had USA as their destination, to the point where in 2019, the people who migrated out of the country to USA alone was 8,400, followed by the UK, United Kingdom, which was followed by Italy and then Spain. Let's take a look at the graph. When we study the graph, we see that all throughout, with the exception of around 2022 and 2023, 2024, United States of America has been by far the destination of choice of Ghanaians who were migrating during this period of time. Around 2022 to 2024, quickly, I think Germany, UK, United Kingdom crisscrossed and became the highest during those periods. But quickly, the United States took over. So you see that the remaining UK, Italy, Germany would crisscross each other on the map until finally UK in 2019 merging as the leader. Sorry, I don't think it's UK. It's Germany merging as a leader in 2019. But they will crisscross throughout the period. The ones with the least migration during the period was Canada and then Spain. It was also seen during the study that men were usually more likely to migrate than women to the European countries. But when it came to US, it was noticed that the women migrated more to the US during the period, as illustrated by the graph we are showing. You see that in Italy, the men were high, Germany, same, Canada, same, Spain, same. But when it gets to the United States, the females top the charts. The common reason that people state for their migration. So the reasons why they are actually going may be different from the reasons that they've stated they are going. So the reasons they state is usually for family issues, humanitarian reasons, and education. 40% of Ghanaians in the study express their intentions to permanently migrate out of the country, which is the third in all African countries, from Sierra Leone, which is 61, and then Liberia, which was 50. And Sierra Leone is first, followed by Liberia, and then comes the Ghanaians at 40%. And if you think about it, 40%, almost half of the population that was interviewed during this study declared their intentions of, leaving the country, and this is permanently. It's not like they are going and they have plans of coming back. However, their desires to migrate do not materialize within the short or long terms, as only 17% of Ghanaians who want to travel or who have intentions to travel really travel within 1 year. They also realize that immigration intentions or intentions to migrate out of the countries was higher among the young people, about 56%, and then the unemployed people, about 58%. The primary driver of immigration in Ghana for this period is high unemployment rates and the mismatch between education and employment. Let me explain this a little bit. There's high unemployment in the country, so people are looking for the opportunity to get work to do somewhere and get paid at least to survive. And the other is that majority of our people who go to school and graduate do not have work to do. So that mismatch. At least you are fluent in English, you have a skill, or you have been educated, to be able to be employable. but you are unable to find work. So you hope, or the person will hope to migrate with the hopes of finding work somewhere and then carrying on with their lives. The youth employment rate in 2023 was 5.5%. The current unemployment rate is 4.0%. Now, these figures and numbers we've mentioned does not include those who go to countries illegally and those who go to countries with one purpose to visit and then end up staying there. So these percentages are just for legal migrants who left the country, went through the due process of becoming migrants. Ghana data on migration shows movement of Ghanaians to Middle Eastern countries has increased significantly over the period of 20 years. This is due to increased employment agencies recruiting Ghanaians as domestic workers, laborers in these Middle Eastern countries. The main destinations are Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, Kuwait, and Lebanon. In 2016, over 2,400 Ghanaians were recruited to work in these countries. So this tells us that migration in out of this country is not a recent thing. It has always been there before independence, and after we've had our independence, people actually moved in and wanted to live in the country. Quickly after independence, things got worse. People started leaving the countries mainly for work and for education. Along the line, we realize that people actually are going, even though they don't have any skill, they are desperate to get opportunities. Now, this study was from 2000 to 2019. But I can assure you that if they are to do the study from 2020 to 2024, we both, or me and you, we know where the numbers will send us. Because in this period, we know people who have left the country unannounced. Very people who are actually employed, especially after COVID, that's after 2019, 2020, when travel was re-established normally, and the health sectors in these countries that are receiving us have lost most of their health workers, and there were gaps to employ people who were skilled. Most of our skilled workers who had employment, some of which I knew, so I still know, saw the opportunity to get higher wages, greener pastures, and left the country. In fact, as we speak, some are planning and leaving the country. This, in the short term, on the interim, may look fascinating, but if measures are not put to slow it down, if not to stop it, we will realize that gradually we are losing our youthful and skilled Ghanaians to other countries. And this goes a long way to stagnate our development and let the country struggle, because one of our greatest resources is the human resource in this country. And if we do not look at the problem of migrating out of this country and seeing how best to resolve it, we may end up like a big village where only the grandmas and the children and the grandpas live in. If you go to your village, most of the young people have left. And that is what is going on a large scale in our times. I know a lot of people are not happy about what I'm saying. I don't look at today's economic situation that you are in alone and say you want to go and never return. Wherever you go, you're a second-class citizen and you'll be treated as such. Home is home. And so if you are a young person and you are listening to me, put your energy to work in this country. We understand it's difficult, but people have spent their sweat to build their countries. And today we all seek to move there. Why can't we do it ourselves? On this note, I bring my chat with you to an end. Hopefully this enlightens you for you to know that you are not alone. If you want to leave the country, people have been leaving. If ultimately that's what you want to do, I'm not here to discourage you. Keep at it so you achieve it. However, I'm here to appeal to you to reconsider the energy, the amount of money you are spending to leave the country can go a long way to help you establish yourself one way or the other. So that in the future, we shall all have our motherland, Ghana, becoming a better, more fruitful place, returning to its glory days when it was a destination of choice for all who travel to the African region. On this note, I'll meet you in the next edition. Peace out.